In the previous lesson, I introduced you to some basic concepts of how you can begin to build your own audience. The reason why I did this is that a strong content marketing program is about building your reputation and visibility first. This will ultimately lead to links that help you with your SEO. The process of building reputation and visibility requires a holistic view of your overall market. In this lesson, I'll walk you through the mechanics of how you can think about that, and that will start to give you a strong base for understanding what content marketing is about. So first of all, here's the core concept. You have your own site, and imagine you begin publishing stuff on third-party sites. And I've actually shown this as all blogs here, but it doesn't have to be all blogs. But the idea is that you're publishing on these other sites and you're gaining visibility from those audiences, and in many cases, links back to your site. This is in supplement, by the way, to the notion of publishing on your own site. But what I'm trying to emphasize here on this on this slide, is that what we're doing is we're going to where our audiences are. You don't want to be publishing on sites where your audience isn't present, because that doesn't really help build your own audience, as I showed in the prior lesson. And it also has just a lot less value. It's likely to be less relevant, and the links are likely to have less value. Now here's a bigger picture, bigger picture of the overall environment. Over on the right, you see I've listed a few classes of people: media, bloggers, influencers, your target market audience segments, and so forth. And these are all people that you are potentially trying to reach. And there's many, many different ways that you can do that, right? Now, of course, we're trying to learn about SEO here, and so that's a part of this picture. But then there's this notion of branded and editorial content that you're publishing, off-site content marketing, social promotion and engagement, and then relationships with influencers. All of these things can help you build relationships with our target audiences, as is shown over here on the right. And you need to keep that in mind, that it's all about getting visibility with those target audiences. We talked about guest posts in one of the earlier lessons. Guest posts are very useful because they can establish a foundation of relationships. If I reach out to a website and they accept a guest post from me, and it's useful and valuable to their users, the visitors to their site, and they continue to take more content from me, I now have a relationship with them. It's a give and take back and forth, and that's something which by itself is valuable to the business. Yes, I'll get some links out of the process. I'll also get some audience out of the process. So that's really important. And that by itself can help with your SEO. But then there's this concept of enhanced content. Imagine infographics or large data-driven studies, which are much more comprehensive than your average guest post. That's what I mean by enhanced content in this context. So let's say I create this incredibly valuable piece of content and I publish it on my site. So as I outlined earlier, what this allows you to do is potentially go get interviews about this content, or publish related infographics or videos, and do byline articles or guest posts, as they're otherwise called. Because I've created this enhanced content, the reputation and visibility value of that might enable me to now start working with media and bloggers and influencers that I couldn't get to before, when the only value proposition I had was a guest post. Because now the context is this very valuable piece that I published on our site. So keep that in mind as an important tactic as well. And it's also important to have an integrated approach to your campaign. There's many different kinds of steps here. We have to establish what the goals of the campaign are and the channels you're going to use. You need to be pre-pitch, if it's valuable enough, media and bloggers. Very useful tactic, by the way. If you have this fantastic, I keep using the example of data-driven studies because it's something that I do a lot. But if you publish a data-driven study and you want other media to write about it, go pre-pitch that media and tell them about it and give them a little bit of advanced access. Tell them, hey, I'm telling you in advance, I'm only telling a few other editors. You can actually publish at the same time we go live with our content. And then go live with that content and then roll out your supported promotional efforts, including social media and other types of tactics, and then work on those follow-on pieces of content you can do. It works so much better when you have this kind of number of elements working together all to make something go further. Remember, the cost of producing highly relevant or newsworthy content, like the data-driven studies I keep referring to, is expensive. You can multiply the value of that content by your ability in promoting it in the effective way that you use and using many tactics to get it out there. It's also good to think about different kinds of channels, right? You may have heard someone talk about the notion of poems, and what they're talking about is paid, owned, and earned media. And the idea is owned media is effectively what you publish on your own properties. Paid media might be advertising. And by the way, I did say earlier you don't want to buy links. In an earlier lesson, I said that. And that's true, but that doesn't mean that there isn't some role for paid media in what you do. Just don't use it for direct link building value. You can use it to gain additional exposure for yourself. And then earned media is when other people write about you. So they see what you're doing and they choose to write about you on their own, or maybe you prompted them a little bit and you gave them a little bit of information about something you were doing. And finally, there's the notion of social platforms, another great way to get exposure for yourself. So this using multiple channels like this and thinking about them like this is very, very useful to do. But really what I want to get across to you to kind of close out this module is this notion that the environment is an ecosystem. You need to think about your marketplace as a community, right? And you got to behave the same way you would in your own community, say in your neighborhood, for example. So you have to observe normal human guidelines, right? So yes, I'm going to publish great content. I'm going to use social media to promote it. I might use PR to promote it. I might use direct outreach to do it. But it's all about building relationships with the people on the right. Media, bloggers, influencers, and your target audience. A very important part of any successful content marketing campaign is to view this as a holistic environment in which you coexist. Keep in mind, though, as I said, content can be on-site or off-site, and it's still about this overall environment in which you exist, working that ecosystem at all times. A couple of more important points. One of the great things about social media sharing, which is the topic of the next module, is that it can help drive links. In fact, here I'm showing a little bit of a virtuous circle of its own. Over on the left here, I've created this great piece of content. I've shared it on social media, and hopefully that content is so good that it helps my social media presence get new followers, fans, shares, plus ones, whatever it is. So it helps my social media team succeed. And yet their publishing it over there drives traffic, links, and subscribers back to the content on my site. This is wonderful when all these things are working together for you, and you need to cultivate this. And I've talked some about audiences. One of the great things about audiences is the larger yours get, the more visibility you have, and the better this overall ecosystem works. With a larger audience, you inherently have more media, more influencers, and more secondary audiences that can help promote your content. I haven't talked yet much about influencers. That's part of the third module that I'm doing in this course. But influencers have large audiences and they have, well, influence. So you want to get that working for you too, and we'll cover that in one of the later modules. And so here's the last thing that I give you for this lesson, which is this notion that influencers are an accelerant. I'm showing that same virtuous circle I showed you just a few moments ago, where I have that post, social media share, and they're reinforcing each other and helping my social media grow, and it's helping me get links. Influencers are an accelerant because they have large social media followings or influence in some fashion or another. And when they share my stuff, it makes my whole virtuous circle I have in the red rectangle there go faster, which is fantastic. So remember, now that you've completed this lesson, I hope that you have a strong sense as to what content marketing campaigns are about and how they'll work. They really require that you focus on actively participating as a member of a community, the community of people that care about your market space. They also require that you work really hard to bring value to that market space, while essentially asking nothing overtly in return. What this does is help you build your reputation and visibility online. As a result, your business, becomes someone that people refer to when they talk about your market space. As a result, it becomes natural for people to link to your content since you've established yourself as an authority in the process. So that's the end of this module on content marketing ecosystem as a whole. And you really have to get back to that it's about the community, it's about the value you bring, how you build those relationships, how you get to be seen as a leader in that overall market space that causes people to naturally refer to you, to want to engage with you when opportunities arise, and actually cause you to be seen as a leader and someone who's having a lot of value. When you do that well, the signals that the search engines are looking for will surely follow.